Now let me give you some thoughts on handling objections. Number one, very important, I've mentioned it, I want to make sure it sticks. Write this down. An objection is a question in the mind of the consumer that remains unanswered. Answer their questions. That's it. That is my mindset towards objections. What do most realtors do? They get worked up, they get all hot, they get sweaty, they turn red. Oh my gosh, they gave me an objection. I don't know the answer to this. No. It's a question in the mind of the consumer that remains unanswered. Give me more of these. If they give me more, they probably want to work with me. Number two, a condition is a statement of fact that you can do nothing about. Move on. Listen and decide, is it an objection or is it a condition? I'll give you the difference. So an objection may be, well, we really don't want to sign more than a 30-day contract. Understood. Let's talk about that. What is preventing you from wanting to sign a 30-day contract? It sounds to me like you're in a hurry to get your home sold. Think about how I just took an objection and turned it into a positive. They're thinking all realtors want us to sign 3 months, 6 months. We're going to tell them we're not signing more than 30 days. And instead of getting all worked up, because I know that that's not reasonable, I know we should get at least a 90-day contract, instead of getting worked up, I'm saying something to the effect of, I can understand you only want to list it for 30 days, and it sounds to me like you're in a hurry to get this home sold. Whoa, where did that come from? Well, that's an objection. A condition is a statement of fact I can do nothing about. For instance, well, Jeff, we appreciate you going to work for us to sell our home. That job transfer that we were planning on getting fell through, and we're going to be taking our home off the market. Well, aside from me asking the question, well, would it still make sense for you to sell the home even if the job transfer fell through? And I still may ask that. Of course, I'm going to be sensitive, and it might not be on that first call if I was using that as an example. That's a condition. I can't overcome it. They're not selling their home because the job transfer fell through. So that's a condition. And that's the difference between a condition, which is a statement of fact, and an objection, which is a question. Next, remember, there's a direct correlation between the amount of objections you receive and the strength and quality of your presentations. There's a direct correlation between the amount of objections you receive. You give a poor performance, you get a lot of objections. You give a good performance, you're only going to get a few. You give a performance and you get no objections. If you don't get a contract signed and you get no objections, then you have a problem. Because that means that you weren't in rapport. That means they didn't feel comfortable asking you additional questions. That means they've already made their decision, they're going in another direction. So objections are good, but too many means that you gave a poor presentation. Well, how many is good? Well, 1 or 2, maybe no more than 3. But if they're asking you every question under the sun, then you probably didn't do a good enough job presenting. Number 4, critical point. And I want you to write this down and look at it, stare at it, study it. Thinking it over is not an objection. It is the smoke screen for what is really concerning them. Okay? Question them. Find out what it is. Throw some things out there for them to respond to. It's very common. Well, you know, Jeff, we appreciate everything you share with us. We just want to think it over. Okay, I can certainly appreciate that you want to think it over. It is a big decision. Smiling, nodding my head, agreeing with them. And tell me, what is it specifically that is stopping you from putting me to work for you today? Ooh. They just told me they want to think it over. I'm agreeing with them. I'm smiling, I'm nodding my head, and I'm asking them, I'm not saying but, and specifically, what is stopping you from wanting to sign a contract with me today? What is stopping you from putting me to work for you? Now, later in the series, you'll learn the difference between the 4 personality styles, and you'll learn that the analytical, above all, really does want to think it over. The analytical personality style, when they say they want to think it over, or they want to study your information, they really do want to think it over and study your information. And if you push them too hard, you could lose them. But with the exception of the analyticals, when everyone else says they want to think it over, there's really something else they're thinking about. So I want to, what I call, isolate the objection. I want to find out what it is. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've gone through everything. I've shared with you what we do to sell homes. We've agreed on a price. You've told me you feel that I can sell your home. Specifically, what is stopping you from putting me to work for you today? Well, the truth is, our brother's cousin is in the business, and we said we'd hear them out before we signed anything. Ah, wait a minute, they just told me they wanted to think it over. So they lied. Well, no, they didn't lie. They gave me a smokescreen objection that would put me on the defense and cause me to say, you know what, take your time, let me know when you're ready. Well, a good salesperson says, take your time. A poor salesperson says, take your time, let me know when you're ready. A great salesperson asks them additional questions to find out what it is that they want to think over. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to handle every single one on the spot. That doesn't mean you're going to get them to get a contract signed, but I want to know what it is they want to think over. What is stopping you from putting me to work for you today? You said I could sell your home. You said you needed to sell. So really, what is it? What is stopping you from putting me to work for you? That's all. I want to ask some questions. Well, really, Jeff, we just want to think it over, which many times they'll come back and say, hey, this is a common one. Well, we never make decisions on the spot. For years and years, we've had a rule in the family. We don't make decisions on the spot. Totally understand. If you were to make a decision on the spot, what would cause you to sign up with me today? Ooh, well, they just told me they don't make decisions on the spot, but if they were, what would cause you to put me to work for you now? Well, we really have a problem with this commission. The last guy that was here said he would do it for less. Okay, great. So they didn't really want to think it over and they don't really have this rule. Well, they may, but ultimately, I just got the real objection out of them. See, if I would have accepted that, if I would have just said, you know what, take your time, I'll follow up with you in a day or two, and let me know when you're ready, then I would have never had a chance to handle that objection. And if I don't get a chance to handle that objection, then I may not get a sale. Moving on. You don't have to get objections if you pre-qualify properly and follow the script. Remember, the more pre-qualifying that you do, you dig out their objections in advance, you're ready for them, you can handle them before they even give them to you. Number 6, crucial point, we've talked about this. Reminder, don't ever handle the objections over the phone or during your prospecting. Do it in person. That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. That'll be one of the first things we talk about when I come out tomorrow. Or my favorite Floyd Wickman line, I don't know, I haven't seen your house yet. Let's talk about it when we get together. Don't handle the objections over the phone. It's very easy for them to say, I'm sorry, I don't like what you said to that. This isn't going to work out, click. It's much easier for them to do that than for them to pick you up out of your chair and throw you out of their house. So I want to get in front of them. And so I'm deflecting the objection until the appointment by saying, thanks for bringing that up. That'll be one of the first things we talk about when I come out. Next, you don't need to have several answers to the objections you receive. You just need 2 to 3 good responses for each of them. Fortunately, you're going through this program. We're going to walk you through each objection and all the answers. So you're in the right place. Next, to learn the answers, take 1 objection per week and write out 2 to 3 ways of handling it. I'm going to give you the ways to handle it. All you have to do is transcribe them and write them down. Practice it, role play it, commit it to memory. Remember, when I first started in this business, I did role plays from 7:45 to 7:45 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. We role played who I was going to call and the objections I would get. And then at 10 o'clock, we would do additional role play. And we'd role play the objections that we get in person when we're on presentations with buyers and sellers. Number 9, critical when starting out. Keep the toughest objections and answers that you receive posted in your prospecting area, either above your phone, next to your computer, on your computer screen, wherever you're doing your lead generation, have them right there. You need to have an immediate response. Another thought is put them on 3x5 cards, carry them around with you, study them. Just keep them in front of you. Now, yes, in the beginning, you may find yourself literally reading them word for word. Maybe the first few weeks, that's how you learn them. But when you get good and you get the objection of, well, we've never heard of your company, you'll know exactly how to respond to that just by looking at the card, just by looking at the document that says, here are the answers to that objection. And you don't have to read them word for word. Why? Because you've written them out, you've practiced them, you've role-played them, you've committed them to memory. Next, remember, objections usually come from someone that wants to work with you. They just have a couple of questions. With this thought, you can get excited about having the opportunity to respond. The reason why I share this with you is because it's more of a mindset. There's no need to get worked up. If they're giving you objections, that means they want to work with you. Don't get frazzled by them, don't get stressed by them, don't get worked up. Just have a conversation, smile, nod your head, remember those rules. Finally, in most cases, they won't ask you a question or give you an objection if they weren't considering working with you. Very true. I've been on presentations before, and you'll be on some yourself. They sit there stone-faced. They don't respond. They don't smile. They don't nod their head. At the end of the presentation, they say, okay, we'll let you know. That didn't go very well. I didn't do a good enough job building rapport with that client, and I probably won't get that contract signed. So when I realize that it's not going well, sometimes I have to stop, ask a few questions, and shift the presentation to get them involved. But if they're not giving me any objections, I'm probably not going to get that contract signed.